So mga bakulod nun, aring video ni Bongbong Marcos ay malantaw nyo ini no noong mga plano at kailangan natin na suportahan itong si Bongbong Marcos dahil napakaganda yung kanyang balak at may solidong plataporma na siya mga kababayan, unlike sa ibang mga kandidato puro na lang sat-sat, wala na mga plano. Guy like Leni Robredo. Leni Robredo mga kababayan ay ngal-ngal na ngal yan dyan talaga. Ang makinabang lang talaga dyan yung partido niya at nang sa likod niya. Pero kung talagang aasahan mo si Leni Robredo ay lutang kasi. Aminin man natin at hindi, at aminin man nila at hindi, tanggapin man nila at hindi, napakaraming mga patutuo na si Leni Robredo ay lutang. So panoorin nyo ito mga kababayan niya. Bakit, ang tanong ko sa inyo, bakit kailangan nating suportahan itong si Bongbong Marcos? Itong video na ito ay kaka-update lamang ng pagtitipon ni kampo ni Bongbong Marcos sa Bacolod City. Panoorin nyo ito. Lalo na sa mga sugar industry, no? Sila ang makinabang. At napakarami, maganda. Maganda yung kaya dapat nating suportahan itong si Bongbong Marcos. So panoorin nyo na to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamata. And then next, Mr. Cuenca. Cuenca of Aldi, President of Aldi.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Madam Vice President. Good morning, President Gloria. Hello. Here we are again. We know each other. We do have a problem with the setup now. Inputs very high. It's we cannot manage how it is going to affect us in the next crop year. The industry, Mr. President, has always been at the bottom of the priority of the ever since budgeting. You look at rice, not importation, but the money that is being spent on rice, on the agriculture, has always been the number one concern of the country. And sugar has always been under. We do our own research, right? Filtering. The budget of SRA, I believe, does not come everything from DA. It comes from the industry through its sugar leaves. And that is making that is our industry where it is right now. What I am asking, I'm sure you will be president and you will be our vice president. During your time, can we transfer the sugar industry to the office of the president?
Why would that be to your advantage?
During the time of your father, we were under the office of the president. And there was the time that the industry was exporting. We were not importing.
You were the biggest dollar earner for the country.
Yes. And suddenly, look where we are. We are really, because the priority of government is not sugar. But we have been the whipping, but every time there's a high price, it's always the planter, it's always, we are not, we don't control prices. We sell every week, and you know all of that, we know that. But with this plan, maybe it needs a little more refinement, but if we are under the office of the president, then we go direct. We don't have to go through the aid. The secretary is not very well versed on us. He imports during the peak season. How is that? It will kill us. The beneficiaries. How many beneficiaries do we have? Our membership in Marcoleta is more than 10,000. And 90% of that are beneficiaries. We need to protect them. and we have been selling every week. Every bidding week, every Thursday, we bid it out. It's an open bid. We get the check from the sugar trader. Friday, we issue how many? 3,000, 4,000 checks on the association alone. And this is weekly. How much is that? Equivalent? 150 million weekly. And that goes to the beneficiaries. Now the beneficiaries are experiencing the high price of inputs. Kawawa sila.
But that seems to be, well, it's a general concern again, around the whole agricultural sector. So hindi natin makontrol yung inputs, yun ang problema. And when I was listening to you talking about this, I kept thinking about what's happening in Ukraine. The prices of oil will definitely go up with what's happening there. And I have to understand why urea. Well, we all know urea is oil, is a petroleum product. But when the prices of oil go up, urea goes up. When the price of oil comes down, it doesn't come down anymore. I remember, ma'am, in your time, we umakit ng 650. Nagre-reklamo na kami lahat. Now it's already 2.5. What can we do about that? Should the government buy in bulk? Baka may economies of scale dyan sa if the government buys in bulk and then makes it part of some kind of assistance. Hindi naman siguro tayo mag-violate, ma'am, ng WTO agreements if we do that. Is that considered a subsidy, ma'am?
We just allow everybody to import. The government becomes one of the importers. But not for no.
Import the
Everybody can import.
so then we will do So in that case, but if the government can, because the government should handle a larger volume, maybe we should look into that. The other part that we have lost some, and again I hear it already here from the sugar plants, is the R&D. Ano yung R&D natin doon? What were we doing before? To find new varieties. You know, with global warming coming up, this is really become a big issue for all our crops now, because we have to find new varieties that are more resistant not only to pests but also to the changes in weather. We're hoping to do that not only palay, rice, corn, high value crops and all that, but of course in sugar. But you seem to have had a system before in place. How is it being done? And why did it stop?
Go ahead.
Okay, as Bob was mentioned before, the last time we also to the president, and the DA was forced to give out budget for R&D under the fishery.
Who conducts the R&D?
Yung government po, but
Which agency?
SRA, Sugar Regulatory Administration. We had here in La Granja, the biggest station, I think, 160 hectares, no, or 200 hectares, earmarked for R&D. And completed laboratory, very nice, very beautiful. Thailand was copying here. And unfortunately, they pirated all our scientists. They brought it to Thailand. So we were that good. But then, what happened, it no longer was under the office of the president, no budget, and all that. So, us, through our efforts, we leaned ourselves to put up an R&D, which is called filtering. But of course, we can only afford so much. We're not government, we have an expansive budget. So we're just chugging along, but very slow.
But if we just talk about funding, will that solve the problem?
Oh yes, definitely, oh yes. Immediately.
Yes, all right. So those are the only aspects now that we are seeing in the rest of the agricultural sector. how is your yield as compared to Thailand, for example, or all the other exporting countries? Are we very far away? And then yung cost of production, and then the labor component of the cost of production as compared to others. How do we compare?
Well, we're not that far off as far as production is concerned, Thailand and the Philippines. But their cost of production is lower because they are subsidized by the government. Their electricity is very low. Government supplies them with irrigation, there's water all over their farm, and the fuel is subsidized. Fuel input, yes, they subsidize the fuel input. So we cannot compete with them. That is why every time there is an importation, everything comes from Thailand. Everything comes from Thailand. And their sugar mills are the biggest in the world. They can mill 25,000-30,000 tons a day. But again, since the industry in Thailand is also in general very poor, when they collapse, they did collapse, all their loans were condoned. All the sugar mills were condoned. So it is being protected by the government. And it's very hard to compete.
Thank you, Mr. Cuenca. And before we continue, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of our former congressman and now our future mayor of Bacolod City, Mayor Albi Benitez. And of course, we also have Congressman Paduano here with us of Abang Quad. And Congresswoman Julian Ferrer of the 4th District. Oh yeah, Congressman Kiko Benitez. Good morning.
Next, Mr. Mr. JJ Sarosa. Ito lang talaga yung main concern natin, ha? Okay, ako naman magsasalita. Yung pinag-uusapan natin dito, baliwalayan. Kung hindi natin mapapanalo si BBM at saka si BBM. So yung first step natin muna, panaluin natin yung senador na nandito at saka yung team unity ni Inday at saka ni BBM. Okay? Yes, sir. I'm sure the senators have this brilliant minded with regards to the sugar industry. Especially makatulong sila sa atin. Now we will support them because sila yung makatulong sa atin. Yung line yan, we will support them because sila yung makatulong sa atin. So, okay na yan. Tutuhan na si BBM-SARA. Please. Para pagbalik naman ko sa Malacanang, tanan niya taga-Negros nag-support mga planters, landowners, ga-expand kita. At ubang, hindi kita mauya. Kay Inday, Sara, kay BBM. Ari na tanan sa aton. We have these 28 mayors out of 31. Parating pa yung isa na 29 na. We have these 6 congressmen. 8 na congressman kasi hindi na Bacolod kay Kong Albi. Half of Bacolod. Pero yung district niya sa 3rd district, solid. Inday, Sara, BBM, and Unity. So kanina, yung mga mayor sa taas, okay na sila. And then we have this short time lang sa inyo. So pasalamat tayo sa kay Ma'am GMA nandito. Ma'am, Madam, thank you very much. Langga ka din namin sa Negros. Tapos, Inday, Sara, best effort kami diri nga ang inyong team, unit team ni BBM. Sir, Mr. President, we will deliver. We will deliver. Okay na sa inyo, ha? Yes. Tita Marilo also. Okay na? Wala na question? Mga senators, hindi gid kamo malipat diri ari ni subong ang senator. Hindi ni nila ang inyong request kung wala sa tulong ng mga senators. So, unity.
Speaking of that, speaking of our senators, is there legislation you feel that you need to remedy some of these problems that you were talking about. Para alam na nila yung magiging trabaho nila.
Cart has already lapsed, but DAR continues to insist that the land retention limit shall be 3 hectares, which is not an economy of scale in any language. So we have to clarify judiciously. So that means to say, remove the several layers of problems that they are facing right now. It can be done with the DA with a proper choice of Agriculture Secretary who understands the problems of the industry. But the most important thing for me is to clarify CART.
If you have any other input from our, yes,
Just take your cue from Senator Selwyn. He's been helping the sugar industry ever since.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Just to add, though, we actually signed a resolution, including myself, to postpone the talks on liberalization of the sugar industry. And I signed that precisely because I really feel that the problem should be focused on the inputs. Because, for example, urea, we don't have a fertilizer industry. Oil, we don't have an oil industry. So, by allowing importation, we're actually going to put a lot of pressure on the sugar industry, while the input industry is actually non-existent. So, in other words, we should really train our guns on the inputs by allowing importation of inputs, maybe looking at the tariff arrangement on inputs, so that the production of sugar will go down. So that's the reason why we're signing it, because we're actually applying the wrong medicine to a problem in the sugar industry. In a nutshell.
are there any more who would like to give their input?
Just to add a few cents to the discussion, Mr. President. Initially, I think the problem is there is a very weak regulatory function here of the SRA. I know that the SRA from the longest time has been doing an annual forecast of yield. They try to approximate the total yield from production of sugar. But surprisingly, they do not have a counterpart target of demand. So puro siya, tina-target nila yung supply, but they do not target the demand. And then, it seems to me there is something wrong in the way importation is being advised. Hindi tayo nagkakaroon ng advice as to why we will import. For example, today, gusto nila mag-import ng 200,000 metric tons. I think last year they imported 84,000 metric tons of sugar already. And then we have to classify sugar A, B, and C. I think sugar A is for America, B is our consumption, C is the buffer. Wala ko nakikitang buffer, Mr. President. This is where we are really lagging behind. And then, kung titingnan natin yung 28 sugar mills, I think 12 of them are in Negros, in Panay, Cebu, and Leyte, supplying about 56% of the production. Matatanda na itong mga ito, Mr. President. Kaya nga, nagsasuffer din yung production. If you compare it with Thailand, there is a wide gap between the production in Thailand. Kasi masyado ng matanda. Yung iba kasi, yung parang sineta pa ni Ferdinand Magellan, Mr. President. Ganun nakatanda yun. So if you have 420,000 hectares of sugar land. Dapat dedicated na to, Mr. President. Dapat wag nang gagalawin yun for any reason. Like for instance in Israel, nakausap ko yung ambassador na if the land is dedicated to production, whatever happens, hindi nila papalitan yun. Kaya palagi tayong meron. So kung ang yield is, let's say, I think the recovery rate is, I think, 9%. In the 1990s up to early 2000, maganda yung production po natin, di ba? Medyo bumagsak na because of yung mataas na po yung inputs. So there are many things that we need to study. And I think we will be able to do that, Mr. President, under your administration. Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta.
And then also, I pass the microphone to Congressman Alvin Piniti.
Mr. President, with respect to legislation, we did pass a law already. It's called the Sugar Cane Industry Development Act. It was passed sometime 2015, 2014, and that was with all the support of the industry, which mandates the national government to appropriate a minimum of 2 billion per year. But that never happened. It was always underfunded, and for whatever reasons, it came short to the concept and the funding requirement of the industry. So if we can just really follow that law that we have passed, we worked on it, and the industry will probably get better off. No, simple lang yan, when we were talking about funding. It was really now that we have the legislation in place. It was passed during your time, Senator Will. And we just need it to be implemented properly.
Hello. Ito. Earlier, before we started this meeting, GMA, President GMA, short talk with the planters. And then everybody agreed that there should be a consolidation among the small owners, land owners. And that I suggest that if that is a solution, one of the solutions, why don't we initiate the consolidation now, even without legislation? And we can try ayun nasa land reform pala. Yung tinamaan ng land reform, ng mga small landowners, why don't we initiate the consolidation now before we tsaka doon sa mga tenants. It can be an internal arrangement among them before we proceed with the legislation on consolidation. Because in the land okay, ma'am. So President GMA explains now to me that under the land reform law, they cannot So we really need a new legislation for that. And the unity, the senatorial candidates will of course support these efforts. Pag nanalo kami, tama sabi ni Vice Gov. Thank you.
Dalawa na lang because may schedule din si Madam Vice President at saka si Mr. President. So, 2 more questions or okay na? And sa mga senators, ready pa pahinga for the rally later? Okay. Oo. So, okay na? Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Kong Kiko of the 3rd District.
No, just to announce, sir, that we are having in the lower house a motu proprio hearing on sugar warning number 3 and its impact on the sugar industry on Tuesday next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kong Kiko. We'd like also to acknowledge Congressman Gerardo Valmayor of the First District.
Okay. Ito lang yung reminders ko ha, yung sinabi ko sa inyo. Ito lang yung last word ko. Suportahan natin sila, yung unity. Ito sila yung tutulong sa atin. Tutuhan ka. Okay, thank you very much sa time ninyo. Sugar leaders, sugar association leaders, sugar industry natin, ma'am. Okay. Pahinga tayo because 8:30 we have this caravan. Halin sa silay, pangatlo na sa bread ko sa